Time is a particularly interesting theme for me, and there are so many aspects of it. There is the philosophical time. In 1920s, the French philosopher Bergson was very famous. Then writers of his generation, especially William Faulkner, was interested in time, in Sound and Fury. His best novel, one of the characters is extremely busy with time, and in the end, in a very crude symbolic gesture, breaks his clock or a wristwatch, so to speak. I am also interested in representing time. One of the best novels that is about passing of time is Thomas Mann's Magic Mountain, because that novel's geographical representation makes us forget about passing of the time. And I am also interested in time as the reader's pace of passing time and the life's pace of passing time, which sometimes should be contradictory or which sometimes overlaps. It was Vladimir Nabokov who praised Tolstoy's War and Peace, in which he wrote about Tolstoy, and Nabokov admired Tolstoy. He said, Tolstoy's time is almost equal to reader's time when he is reading it. But it was Joseph Conrad who invented to tell the story not in a linear time fashion, but start the story in the middle, then go back to some time before, then jump back some time before. I taught Joseph Conrad's best novel, Nostromo, in the class. And you see that it's very complicated. I don't advise that too much to my readers or to would-be writers. For me, passing of time is the main thing that a good novel should make us feel the passing of time. One of the early Virginia Woolf novels, which was less Virginia Woolf, more Henry James, The Years, was all about passing of the time. In my childhood comic books, they would be between the squares, there would be suddenly, after some time, or suddenly, exclamation marks that I love so much. I think in composing a novel, when putting my story in shape, chapters help us to give us different feeling of time. I sometimes think that chapters work not only to arrange that who's telling the story, from whose eyes we're seeing the story, but in what time it's happening. And you can start a chapter saying, after such time, or in early February, so-and-so returned to his home, or something like that. Chapters really in novels help us to feel the existence of time. Living, being is a feeling of time, and since in the end a novel should be a full representation of what we live in this world, time, secretly or openly, is a great subject for me, both technique-wise and philosophically and aesthetically. Death obviously is a strong subject in my books, especially as I get older, because the most valuable thing, the time is finishing. We have to be even quick, then we even ask ourselves major questions about what did I do with my life? What is the meaning of life? To ask questions like that at the age of why am I living? What is the value? What is their other life? Or what should I have done in my life is common at the age of 70. What is interesting, very honorable, and very distinctive is to be able to ask these questions when you are 20. If you are asking questions about death and the meaning of life in your 20s, I think you're going to be a good writer or a good artist. Because of that, I always fantasize about writing a novel set in medieval Ottoman times, because a pandemic novel, a plague novel, is a way of everyone faces death when there is a plague pandemic because it kills 1 in 3. And I thought I will make my characters think about the meaning of life in a romantic way. More or less, that was the initial idea of Nights of Plague. What makes we human beings unique is that not only we have the power of empathy, understanding others, but also we have a strong sense of time. And this makes timelessness a very interesting subject, that in a desert or in a Salvador Dali painting and his persistence of time is about almost a philosophical painting. We see a landscape, an endless landscape without human beings. It is we human beings that lend to the endless universe a sense of time, perhaps because we are very busy that we have, unfortunately, a very limited time. My characters, perhaps me, are always jealous of objects who do not have any sense of time and who may exist just like a piece of stone in an remote corner of the globe, which is there for thousands of years, and it's a timeless object. We will die, vanish, but that stone, that little curve of marble will be there. In my silent house, there is a grandmother, a very old grandmother, is very upset by the objects who will stay there. If even we don't exist, they will continue to stay there, perhaps because she is aware that she is about to die. For literature, or at least for my kind of literature, time is important. Let us not forget that literature, stories are possible because there is a change in things, and that is only possible in time. In fact, I'm also interested in arts. Painting, sculpture, architecture is possible because there's not change in time, but there's change in space. Literature works in time because story is possible with a change, while art, painting is possible because of a change in space. And time and space are two basic categories in Immanuel Kant's philosophy, and they are the two dear things for an artist, for a writer, that you constantly go back to.